Dubai's skyline glows with promise, yet entire luxury towers now sit eerily dark, sold out on paper but empty in reality. More than 150,000 new high-end units launched in just 3 years, yet prime buildings like Emirates Crown and Address residences struggle to fill even 60% of their apartments. If this is the city where everyone wanted to buy, why has luxury become so common it is almost toxic? And what happens when the world's richest investors suddenly vanish? The answer starts inside these silent towers. Rows of luxury towers rise above Sheikh Zayed Road, their facades gleaming in the sun and fading into shadow by nightfall. But after dark, the difference between promise and reality becomes impossible to ignore. In buildings like Emirates Crown, Address residences, and several towers along the Palm Jumeirah Crescent, entire floors remain dark long after sunset. These are not construction sites or unfinished shells. These are buildings that on paper boast sellout launches and record-setting prices. Yet from above, the city's most expensive addresses reveal a patchwork of darkness where light was meant to signal life. Marketing brochures show panoramic windows glowing with warmth, bustling lobbies and rooftop pools reflecting city lights. But the reality on the ground is a stark contrast. In the heart of downtown, towers that once symbolized Dubai's unstoppable ascent now stand with more empty windows than occupied ones. Aerial images and satellite stills capture the silence, dozens of units in prime locations unlit and uninhabited, even as developers announce new launches just blocks away. In Dubai Marina, the story repeats itself. Towers celebrated for their luxury amenities and sweeping views are haunted by empty corridors and quiet lifts. On the Palm, where each address was once a trophy for the global elite, the night sky is broken by long stretches of darkness. The city's relentless pace of construction has created a strange new landscape, one where luxury is measured not by exclusivity, but by vacancy. The disconnect between the glossy promise and the lived reality is no longer hidden. It is visible every night, written in light and shadow across the skyline. Dubai land department records show more than 150,000 new residential units launched in just 3 years, yet the pace of actual completions and lived-in homes tells a different story. In 2024, out of 154,145 units announced, only 34,165 reached completion, a handover rate of just 22%. The following year, the pattern held steady. 152,402 units were launched, but only 31,437 were delivered, with 79% of projects due for completion still behind schedule by mid-2025. The gap between what developers promise and what actually gets built is widening quarter by quarter. The third and fourth quarters of 2024 market reports from Property Monitor and the Dubai Land Department document a growing backlog with more than 100,000 units in the pipeline for 2026 to 2027. Meanwhile, occupancy rates in several high-profile luxury towers, Emirates Crown, Address residences, and select Palm Jumeirah buildings remain below 60%, even as these projects are counted as sold out on paper. Analysts point to a market where launches far outstrip absorption. In the first half of 2025, 90,337 new units were registered, but only about 5% were handed over within the same period. The result is a city where the supply of luxury apartments priced above 3 million dirhams per unit continues to balloon, but actual demand lags far behind. The numbers reveal a structural disconnect. Developers keep announcing more, while the pool of real end-user buyers shrinks. Each new announcement adds to an inventory that is already struggling to find residents. Dubai's reputation as a magnet for global wealth once rested on a steady stream of buyers from Russia, China, Europe, and India, but that flow has thinned dramatically. Russian demand, which surged after 2022, dropped off as sanctions tightened and money transfers became more difficult. Dubai Land Department logs show a sharp decline in Russian purchases by late 2024, with many agents reporting deals falling through at the last minute. The story is similar for Chinese buyers. Tighter capital controls from Beijing have made it nearly impossible for individuals to move large sums out of China, leaving once active Chinese investors on the sidelines. Meanwhile, Dubai's Golden Visa program, once a unique draw for wealthy foreigners, now faces stiff competition. Portugal's non-habitual resident scheme and Greece's property investment visa both offer residency with fewer restrictions and, in some cases, lower investment thresholds. The result is a shifting map of global property hunters. Buyers who once saw Dubai as the obvious choice now weigh options in Europe, Saudi Arabia, or even Abu Dhabi, where new developments and regulatory perks are aimed at the same ultra-wealthy clientele. This erosion of traditional buyer segments has left a visible mark. Dubai Land Department data points to a rising share of units purchased by investors rather than end users, and many of those properties remain unoccupied long after handover. The city's luxury towers, once symbols of international demand, now reveal the risk of relying too heavily on a narrow band of global capital. Without a new wave of genuine residents, the promise of vibrant, lived-in communities rings increasingly hollow. Owning a luxury apartment in Dubai means facing costs that often surprise even experienced buyers. Service charges alone can run from AED 20 to 40 per square foot each year, turning a 2,000 square foot home into a recurring annual bill as high as AED 80,000. Add cooling, maintenance, and special assessments, and the math quickly outpaces what most tenants pay in rent for similar properties. The numbers are spelled out in owner invoices posted on forums with detailed line items for pool upkeep, concierge salaries, and landscaping for rooftop gardens that sometimes remain unfinished. But the financial sting doesn't end there. When owners try to exit, the resale market delivers another blow. Auction logs from 2024 and early 2025 show luxury units selling at discounts of 15 to 25% below their original purchase price, especially in towers where unsold inventory lingers. For some, walking away means accepting a loss that wipes out years of projected gains. Quality issues add to the frustration. Anonymous owners describe snagging lists that run into dozens of items, including water intrusion under window frames, warped wooden floors, and elevators that break down within months of handover. In owner groups, photos circulate of stained ceilings and unfinished corridors, evidence that the promise of high-end living does not always survive contact with reality. The combination of high carrying cost and disappointing workmanship leaves many questioning whether holding on to these properties is worth the stress. For those who bought into the dream, the daily reality is a steady squeeze that is hard to ignore. Developers are now handing out payment plans that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. Brochures promise 1% monthly installments and 5-year post-handover terms, letting buyers stretch out payments long after moving in, or more often, after flipping the contract to someone else. Behind closed doors, brokers talk about quiet discounts of up to 15% for buyers threatening to walk away, especially in towers where sales have stalled. Commission schedules have grown fatter, with some agents earning double what they did in 2021 just to keep inventory moving. The language in sales centers has changed too. Where exclusivity once sold itself, the pitch now revolves around affordability, flexibility, and returns marketed as risk-free. The numbers on paper look strong, but the reality is a market propped up by creative financing and backroom deals, not genuine demand. This is a sign of deeper desperation. Developers are effectively financing buyers just to keep construction moving and to maintain the illusion of demand. Assignment listings for off-plan properties have surged across Dubai's luxury districts. Brokers now report entire WhatsApp groups dedicated to flipping contracts before handover, with some towers seeing more assignments than actual move-ins. In recent months, stories have surfaced of investors forfeiting deposits, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dirhams, rather than finalizing purchases on units they no longer believe they can sell at a profit. International funds that once touted Dubai exposure in their portfolios are quietly scaling back, with several reporting reduced allocations in their latest filings. When asked about these trends, developer representatives point to headline sales figures and record transaction values, insisting demand remains strong. The Dubai Land Department highlights ongoing reforms and the launch of new first-time buyer programs, framing current volatility as a sign of market maturity, not distress. However, behind the official optimism, the secondary market tells a different story, one where the rush to exit is growing harder to ignore. Today, Dubai's skyline dazzles, but many luxury towers echo with emptiness. As oversupply grows and true demand falters, the city faces a critical question. When does abundance become a liability? In real estate, value isn't measured by height, it is measured by the lives and communities that actually fill these spaces. What do you think?